So, what's your name?
Roger Toy.
Roger Toy, yeah? And what do you do here, Roger?
They call me the custodian. I'm really the manager of the place, managing the shop, and we have the hall set up so that the tours can be done by the person who's in charge of the shop. One-man operation, in other words. So I do that and make sure the place is regularly staffed, and on behalf of the owners of the property, who are actually the local Freemasons Lodge.
Really?
Who've owned the place for the last 50 years.
Right, great, yeah. And how long have Seoul people been coming here?
Best part of 20 years, I believe. I've been here about 14 years, and they were certainly coming then. And I believe they started sending groups in the early 90s.
Right, yeah. And what do you think the students get out of the experience of coming here?
Well, first of all, a lot of fun, I think. A chap who I used to work for, who retired last year, used to say if there isn't somebody laughing in the halls regularly, then something's wrong. Right. So that's the first thing. They're obviously here to develop their English, and presumably it would appear that most of the people from Eastern Europe know the story of King Arthur in some way, so that helps on a sort of theme day out, I presume, which is why Tintagel is quite popular. So to help them with their English, to help them have some fun, and to also increase their knowledge of the Arthurian legend, which is just such a wonderful story and inspires people in so many different ways.
And why do you think it is the legend of King Arthur so big in Britain?
I think it's an inspirational story, and it's ultimately an allegory for the quest for perfection and a better life and a better way to do things. And certainly the man who built the halls, Frederick Glasscock, back in the 1920s, he was really trying to save the world using the Arthurian legend. He'd made a fortune from custard powder. He was on the sales side of the company, and this hall was built as the ceremonial centre of an international fellowship, which was almost an international university to teach the people of the world chivalry. And as a salesman, he thought he could streamline the process by linking it with the Arthurian legend and try to make the world a better place, and ultimately to reduce the risk of another conflict after the First World War.
Yeah. And when did Tintagel grow as a big tourist destination?
Really from the development of the railways in the mid-1800s, which made it physically possible to people to get here, and then with the help of people like the poet Tennyson, who wrote Idylls of the King and did some research here, mentioned Tintagel in it as Arthur's birthplace, and then he in turn inspired the pre-Raphaelite artists to feature King Arthur quite significantly in their works, and other poets and writers who came to Tintagel because it's Arthur's birthplace, and therefore developed it as an ultimate tourist destination.
Right. And Tim mentioned that the halls were shut for a long time and then
well,
reopened.
they were really mothballed over the period of the Second World War. Hello, and the situation then was that obviously that there was no tourist trade, and Mr. Glasscock, who founded the halls, had died, and his fellowship had wound up in the late 30s. They were brought back to life in the 1950s when they were bought by the present owners, the Freemasons Lodge in Tintagel, who bought it as a ready-built meeting place, but realised that they had a colossal amount of upkeep to provide for, and so that necessitated opening it to the public as a tourist attraction, because in the 1950s tourists were coming back to Tintagel again, and it's evolved into the present situation where we have a light show telling the story, and people can go into the halls and take their photographs, and we got what we like to think is quite a nice shop at the front. So it's it's developed.
It's a lovely shop. Yeah, you've got great selection of books. And yes, well,
nice, the authors never cease to disappoint us in coming out with new slants on the Arthurian legend. Peter Ackroyd being the latest one with his interpretation of Le Morte d'Arthur, and so we are able to stock a varied selection of books for that reason.
Right, and just the final thing, which are the most nationalities that come here?
We get a lot of people from Eastern Europe, thanks in no small measure to the activities of Saul and one or two other language schools bringing in youngsters from Eastern Europe. We also get a tremendous number of school students from French schools, principally in the early part of the year, and they are using us in increasing numbers. And we also get lots of mainly senior citizens from Germany, and they seem to be inspired by the Arthurian legend and also by the fact that the novels of Rosamund Pilcher, which are set in Cornwall, have been filmed for German television and shown on Sunday nights there for about 20 years. And they all want to visit the locations used. Not that Tintagel's used, but Tintagel being in Cornwall, it's then convenient for them to visit Tintagel as well. So we get lots of people from those countries. But we did actually prove from our visitors book that we had to go back about 18 months, but by that time, by marking off the countries who'd signed the visitors book, we'd covered the planet, every country in the world, even little places we'd never heard of.
Well, I shall encourage our teachers today to sign the visitors book.
Yes, that'd be excellent. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.